Games, Brains A Head-Banging Life here. You know what time it is. It's 10 Things We Love. And if you clicked on it, you already know it's 10 Things We Love about Pantera. You're one or two people at this stage. You've either gone, oh, sweet. Oh, I'm interested, hopefully, to hear what these guys have to say about Pantera. Or you're the other, and you've gone, ugh, that band, and switched off already. Why'd you click on it? It says it in the title. But anyway, 10 Things I Love, 10 Things You Love about the... what was called groove metal band, stompy metal band, however you want to fucking call them. The heavy metal
band.
There you go, Pantera. We are predominantly, no doubt you're the same, but I am mostly, completely on my love, focused on Pantera, Cowboys from Hell era onwards. I don't have anything from the glam days.
I don't know what you're talking about, mate. What glam days? I saved them from my hate.
Yeah, I might have something about it in there. I'll get us started then. It's really simple. There are a few bands where you look at all the members and go, oh shit, all of them are legends in their own right. Like all of them. You know, like normally you might get the frontman might be the one that everyone remembers, maybe the guitarist, rarely the bass player, rarely the drummer. But Pantera's four. Phil Anselmo, Dimebag Darrell, Vinnie Paul, Rex Brown. They're legends. All of them in their own right.
True that.
You know me.
My first one, I've just gone for the amazing impact they had. I just don't think there have been many bands that had the impact Pantera did in such a short space of time. You know, the relatively unknown when they released Cowboys from Hell, and the world just exploded, man. Music, TV, the press, the fans, it was all about Pantera. And they went really from glam rock nobodies to the saviors of metal overnight and became probably the most important band in metal for the best part of a decade. Love or hate them, they were everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's insane from that album.
Yeah, I think their impact is being lessened as the years go by through many problems. But it's wrong to not look back and at least even do your research if you're unsure about it, to see the record sales and the size and the growth in a very short amount of time as well.
Yeah.
Started hot, burnt like an inferno, and went out. But there you go. Right. We have a habit, and it happens in all music, not just metal, but we have a habit of when a member of a band dies, unfortunately, we often then put them on a pedestal. Sometimes I feel it's undeserved. Someone might be an all right guitar player or drummer, they die, and suddenly they're put as oh no, they were so vital and important and stuff like that. Yeah. Not trying to play it on anyone's death. However, in the case of Pantera, obviously Dimebag Darrell, I'm referencing him specifically because of the manner in which he died. But he is one that I feel, and one of only a few that I feel the pedestal is actually deserved. That the whole guitar god thing is fair for once, where it is like, no, we put him on a pedestal because he was one of the greatest guitarists in the world. Yeah.
Dimebag was well believed to be one of the greatest guitarists in the world while he was still alive, and that's one of the big differences in it. You know, often it takes the death for people to go, oh God, we never realized how amazing he was, but Dimebag was already that.
He was.
You know,
absolutely.
So I'll go for my next one then, and I'm kind of tying into the impact, I guess, but just what a run. You know, we talk about bands wanting to have albums. They released an album every 2 years between 1990 and 1996.
Crazy.
Those albums were 1990 Cowboys from Hell, 92 A Vulgar Display of Power, 94 Far Beyond Driven, 96 The Great Southern Train-Kill. That is fucking phenomenal. That is literally, you know, not just 4 great albums. And yeah, there are, you know, songs you pick out on some of them. You go, well, that's not a brilliant song. But they are still 4 fucking immense albums.
Yeah.
But every 2 years as well. You know, when music came out every 2 years.
Yeah. That's it. I think it's the time period more than anything as well. Because you go, right, well, you start thinking about other bands that went on runs of strong, like, say, 3 or 4 albums as well that were quality. And you can find more, but in that short times period, that's the most incredible thing.
It's amazing. And also at a time where really things like the more new metal side of things were owning it. You know, you're talking like 96s and stuff like that. You know, you're bringing out albums like The Great Southern Train-Kill. You know,
well, it's not part of my love, but you know, you're sort of bringing it up. You know, Pantera, what came into life at the death of the new album, and during the the rise of grunge in the early 90s, And obviously near the end, were entering that new metal territory as well. They crossed and fought against a lot of fucking genres that are quite important genres too. Okay, continue my theme about bands. Right, don't be an idiot, people. He is one of the best vocalists in the game. Whatever you think of him personally, that's fine. I got my own issues with him. We'll get to some of them in hate. But vocally, Phil Anselmo is one of the best vocalists in metal. Not just was Pantera stuff, but later stuff as well, but focusing on the Pantera side of things, you can hear some of the dirtiest, growliest, throatiest shit going. And at the same time, you can then listen to a song like Cemetery Gates.
Yeah. True that. So I guess I probably could have done this one after you were speaking about Dimebag. So, and this is about Dimebag, and my first line sounds like I'm about to diss him, so that's not what it's meant to be.
Okay.
So obviously Dimebag, I agree, was one of, if not, he's probably one of the greatest metal guitar players of all time.
Yeah.
You know, but he wasn't, like a lot of the time these days, he gets lumped down as being one of the greatest guitar players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not true. Like, no offense to anyone who's a massive fan of Dimebag. Like, you know, most of the greatest guitar players of all time aren't genuinely in metal. As much as I love guitar, you know, if you want to hold people like Dimebag up against the likes of Hendrix and Stevie Vai and Yngwie Malmsteen and all that, he doesn't really hold a candle to them.
Fair enough.
But the guy could fucking write riffs, man. Like, he was a riff monster, a riff machine. You know, all those riffs that everyone remembers, all the things you remember from songs, whether it's like Walk or anything like that. You know, this is Dimebag on his guitar, just killing it.
Yeah.
And really, to be honest, the backbone of Pantera's groove all channeled through there. And don't get me wrong, Vinny was a huge part of that as well. But the riffs are what you remember with Pantera. You know, you just think like the beginning of Cowboys from Hell. You know, instantly everyone knows the little guitar bit. Walk, it's constantly dun 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 dun. You know, you can't help it. And like, he was just a riff machine, man.
I was going to originally segue into something else, but you said it, so I'll segue into it. For tracks that are often overplayed, regardless of when you hear them, it might always do something to you. And you just mentioned the intro to Cowboys from Hell. And I can't tell you, every time that kicks in, and then those drums, bump, kicks in, the excitement I feel, even as I just did it there, I'm like getting little hairs in the back of my neck. Fucking love the intro to Cowboys from Hell. It is one of the most exciting starts to a track Pantera have for me.
Yeah. So, what should I go for? Let's do an album. So for me, the Great Southern Tranquil album.
Yep.
I highlighted this one particularly because while, you know, I adore 4 of their albums, I like 5, I could say, you know, but I adore 4 of them. But for me, weirdly, the Great Southern Tranquil is my pinnacle of Pantera. I think it's their darkest, their angriest. You know, they were going for a dark period, obviously, around this time, and I think you feel that in the music. You know, songs like Drag the Waters, Suicide Note 1 and 2, the title track itself, The Great Southern Tranquil, Living Through Me, Hell's Wrath. For me, that album is a faultless masterpiece and the best album they released. And I love it. Yes,
we haven't done a track by track of it yet, but that will come, no doubt, in the future. We have done... Which Pantera album did we do?
We did Vulgar Display of Power, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was Vulgar Display of Power. I remember doing fucking Hostile and all that.
You're right. Well, continuing with the Dimebag kind of thing, I wanted to highlight one specific thing, which is a forgotten thing. You talk about the riffs and all that, but you also forget solos sometimes. Solos had some ripping solos.
Yeah.
There is one particularly on one track that I forget about all the time, and then I re-listen to the song, as I did earlier on, and it's still as shockingly good as you forget. Not the track specifically. The track's great, but the solo in it. Do you know what song I'm talking about?
Floods.
Floods. Of course it's Floods.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Guitar
it's
solo,
his best solo
is one of the best solos I've ever heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's their best solo, or his best solo, I think.
Without a shadow of a doubt, yeah.
A great song. And also from that same great album I just mentioned.
Yeah.
So Well, this is 10 things we love about Pantera. I'm also going to do one more in Dimebag.
Okay.
We should have just done 10 things we love about Dimebag. And this is a pretty simple one again, but like, I guess especially for me, so I'm talking like 1990 Cowboys from Hell comes out, 92 Voltage Power. I'm like 12, 13, 14 years old. This is literally the albums I grew up listening to as I got into heavier and heavier music. And it doesn't really matter so much to me these days, but I do remember just thinking with Dimebag pretty much just encapsulated everything that was cool about metal for me. He looked metal as fuck. His beard, his hair, his guitars. He always had like the fucking flying V that gives him guitars. His wrist from metal as fuck, all that sort of stuff. But there were other things about him that I always kind of just adored as a man, and that was a lot of the time when shit went south with Pantera. I'll see what I did there. That was a pun anyway, because they're from the south. Woo! Nice. When shit went, I did that on purpose, honestly. But often it was Phil and Vinny who were kind of going at each other in the media. That was the interview with Vinny or interview with Phil.
Yeah.
And Dimebag just tended to keep his mouth shut. He weren't really interested in that. He just wanted to play guitar, man. He just wanted to play guitar. He loved his music. He just wanted to rock out. Yeah. No dramas, just a decent bloke, I think. That's how he came across. Dedicated to his craft. And I loved him for it.
Yeah.
I didn't do it, but, similar to actually to Rex, who was often, he was respected, but maybe underappreciated sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the beef always seemed to be Vinny versus Phil.
That's what I always think of. Yeah, Vinny and Phil going at it. Okay. Now we're done with our Dimebag appreciation. Let's move on to something else. I'm Broken. That track specifically. Still to date, it is my favorite Pantera song. When I think back to, and I highlighted it because I was aware of Pantera back in the day, but I wouldn't say I listened to a lot of it regularly beyond the hits that came on. And I remember coming across I'm Broken on one of the TV channels back in the day that regularly played it. And it was the first time I saw the video for I'm Broken, which black and white, room, wherever the practice room.
Yeah.
I watched it, skinhead, with that
Phil stomping around.
Just, and losing his fucking shit. And then, like, when my eyes would move away from him, I'd see other bands and look like they were standing still either. And it just felt so chaotic, but had such a groove to it that it got so jammed in my fucking head that today it's still just my favorite Pantera song. Even if it's not like the most technically brilliant, the best masterpiece, the most clever writing, clever lyrics and things like that, it's just those memories have just stuck with me.
The thing with this band as well, isn't it? Like, you can literally just say the words "I'm broken," and in your head instantly the riff's there.
Down there.
Like
straight away.
You don't have to think about it. You don't have to go, "Oh, which one was it?" It's just there straight away.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great song, man.
Yeah.
So I guess aggression, really. And again, this is probably an era thing, because of the age I was when they were bringing their stuff out, So it's kind of it was the perfect music for that kind of young, angry youth, kind of getting into metal. And as an older person, I can sometimes look back at their music now, and I guess to a degree there are parts where I can go, "Oh, it's a little bit dumb, kind of bro metal," to a degree, all that respect and all that shit.
Yeah.
But back when I was 13, 14, 15, it weren't at all. I lived and breathed that shit.
Yeah,
and I really bought into the aggression side of things. They were like the anthems of the young and angry.
Yeah.
Really. That was everyone's talking about, well, it's all Nirvana and Alice in Chains and and then there was this subsection of metal that were just these angry fucking youth listening to Phil Anselmo, bitching and moaning about giving respect. Proper loved it, mate.
Yeah.
I think they were for that generation. That's the thing, and I kind of wrote this down. I don't know how true it really is. Like, it was kind of what I felt when I wrote this down, but it's kind of how Slipknot became that for the next generation.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? I think Slipknot were for their generation what Pantera were for my generation.
Well, Slipknot was my generation. I'm younger than you, so I completely understand. While I was never really like big on the aggression side of things, Slipknot for me were my Pantera in the sense that I saw and loved the chaos.
Yeah.
What's quite interesting, my next one then, is I just started to wonder, and I was kind of like, initially I dismissed this thought, and then I kind of grabbed it and went with it because I thought it actually worked. And I was like, I wonder for people who were coming off the back of New Album and that stuff, struggling with the likes of grunge and seeing the future of new metal, saw Pantera as a bit of a gateway band for when there wasn't really much else there. And I mean, like, in the sense that you could listen to songs like Walk, Cowboys from Hell, Cemetery Gates, and stuff like that. And they were light enough or had enough melody or chorus and stuff that you weren't just getting blasted by the heavier shit that Pantera had. And that allowed you to go, okay, you know, I like a bit of this grunge stuff and I'm going to like this in the future. But right now, this is turning me onto a heavier sound. And I started to think, yeah, you know what? There's probably quite a few people that heard of Pantera, played a few songs, maybe didn't get into it, but then heard a song like Cemetery Gates or Cowboys from Hell or stuff like that, and then went down that pathway to their heavier side of their music, and then found their way, like we all have, gateway bands. I wondered how much of a Pantera were a gateway band, and it felt like probably quite a few, particularly.
I think so.
90s.
Yeah, I think so, man. I mean, the scale of the impact that, I don't know, say a song like Walk had across the fucking globe.
Yep.
That was being played everywhere, man, everywhere. There's no chance in the world that people weren't hearing that shit and going, "Oh, I like this." You know, people were liking it. That's why it was everywhere.
Exactly that.
They must have, you know, a large chunk of people would have moved at least further into Pantera off the back of songs like Walk, I reckon.
Yeah.
So what have I got? Okay, so I guess this is more memory stuff for me, really, and this is Pantera's home videos.
Oh God, yeah.
In particular, the Pantera video, which was called 3. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. But for me, it wasn't about the fact that it's great. It's really about the memories it brings back for me. Because again, this was kind of, if I remember correctly, this was after Vulgar came out, and it was a lot of the home videos were stuff of them touring Vulgar Display of Power. You know, so they was in like, they were, by then, considering, I know they had albums before, but considering Cowboys was what made them known, you're only talking 3 years later, and by that point, they're already fucking headlining everything. You know, they went from nothing to 3 years later to being the band to book for whatever, any festival you can, really. Having Pantera there meant you were selling your tickets.
Absolutely.
You know, but and so there was a lot of crazy shit in these videos, you know, and they were still young, they were stupid, they were still drunk all the fucking time. There's lots of like, it's almost like plays out like a Jackass video at times, you know, pranks and all that sort of stuff. But I was at school when that video was out, and obviously, you know, me and like a group of friends, we had a friend who lived just down the road from the school, and we used to bunk. I mean, it wasn't the sort of school that anyone gave a fuck if you bunked or not. The teachers would probably be bunking off anyway. So we probably did this for like, you know, a day a week for about 3 or 4 months, where we would swipe in, you had to clock in, didn't you? You remember? Swipe in the morning, or give like the nerdy kid all our swipe cards and say, "Swipe us into the tutor groups, mate, or we'll beat you up." And then we would chip off out the back of the school into the woods, and we'd hide out there for a half hour or so until everyone was in, and then we'd just chip down Shooters Hill into my mate's house, stick Pantera 3 on, and we used to try and make black tooth grins with cans of Super Tenants and Jack Daniel's whiskey that his dad had. And it's not even how you're meant to make it, but you know, that's what we would do. And then we'd like, you know, I would say we get drunk. It's not like we were doing 20 of them. We were still kids at the end of the day, so we probably had one of them. And we're like, "Oh my God, I'm fucked." You know, we used to do that. But I just like, you know, I think of Pantera, and I think back to those days. I think back to sitting there, we'd watch those videos, we'd go out in his garden, we'd do stupid shit like trying to launch ourselves off his roof into a bush and all that, you know. And they weren't even into metal, but we all watched that video. Everyone loved Pantera's videos.
Yeah.
There you go.
Encapsulated the youth, man. Live 101 Proof. It's one of the best live albums you'll ever hear. You know, I always tell people Sepultura's Under a Pale Grey Sky is my favorite live album. Well, 101 Proof is a close second, man. It encapsulates Pantera live perfectly. The best track listing you're going to get. It is near fucking perfect for live albums. Yeah.
My next one is Live 101 Proof. We're very similar on this, man. I mean, like almost word for word. The only difference being is that I do think this is the best live album ever produced. Doesn't necessarily mean favorite live album, but in terms of its overall package, the production, the track list, it perfectly, like you said, captures the essence of Pantera. It perfectly captures it, man.
Yeah.
You feel the chaos and the aggression. You feel like you're there listening to that album.
That's it.
And for anyone who records live albums, like the reason these albums are great as well is because you haven't removed the crowd. You hear the crowd screaming and shouting, along with Phil, and that makes like all the difference a lot of the time. Like I said, the track list is brilliant, and for me, the live album, from a production sort of standpoint, that all live albums should look up to.
Yep.
It's not alone. There are a lot of great ones, like you said with Sepultura. There are a lot of great ones that did that. But yeah, this is up there with the very best of them.
Absolutely. You've nailed exactly what we talk so many times about the live albums. Give us that crowd noise. I want to smell the sweat. I want to taste the blood. That's what I feel I get with Pantera's 101. Yeah. But I'm going to do my next one, which is a bit of a sneaky one, because I probably could have included it in that, but I separated it because if there's one reason to hear 101 Proof, it is for something special. It doesn't exist anywhere else. Yeah. And it is a combination of two songs. And it's a combination of Hollow and Domination. The mashup that appears in 101 Proof is one of the finest things you'll hear. Enough so that when we both did our Design Your Own set lists for Pantera, we both thought we were hilariously clever for cheating and putting that one in, yet we both fucking did it. So yeah. that there is like the antithesis of that album for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fucking brilliant. Two songs, like it should have been. It almost makes you think, like, true fact here. I think I would prefer to listen to Hollow/Dom than either track individually.
Yeah, I agree. I've just become so used to hearing it like that now as well, because I'll often seek out the 101 Proof version over anything else.
I think they're both great songs, but that cut is better than both of the individual songs, which is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
There you go.
I got one more.
That's right. I've got two more then. I think I was starting to struggle a little bit for the last two, but not. I mean, they're still relatively serious, but obviously it all ended quite badly with Pantera. But in a weird way, like some of that badness kind of turned into good things.
Yep.
So their infighting occasionally meant that. I don't know. I guess I kind of looked at it as in if Pantera were tight, best buddies, loving what they were doing, and kind of just continued on doing it, well, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Hopefully. We probably wouldn't have had Superjoint Ritual's first. I'm not saying the whole of Superjoint or Superjoint Ritual, because I don't love everything they did.
Absolutely.
But their first album, Use Once and Destroy, came out at a time when they were, on a separation. Although Nola was done originally, a Bustle in Your Hedgerow was done during another separation. So in a weird way, their fighting at least meant that we didn't just lose Pantera. It just meant that we got other things.
Yeah.
And I dare say this, Down's first album and maybe their second album are up there with most of what Pantera released.
Strong words.
Other than The Great Southern Tranquil.
Other than it's great. I mean, you've kind of touched upon something I had. Mine was about Out of the Ashes. So this burning, I strongly believe that Pantera could never have gone 20 years. Could never have done. That level of aggression, chaos, intensity could never have lasted. What we would have seen was diminishing results. You could argue we got that with the final album already with Reinventing the Steel in regards to diminishing results. And I think had they tried to continue, had they been able to get along, we would never have got what we got, and they would have inevitably broken up on the basis of it just not working anymore. Some bands are able to call it. They might have been able to call it. Look at someone like Dillinger Escape Plan, who call it a day when they literally said, we're never going to be able to do what we were able to do 10 years ago. And that was a good idea. But Out of the Ashes, as Brendan already said, things grow. A lot of this was started during Pantera's time, but obviously in the case of some of them have grown on the bigger things. I'd say Down grew quite predominantly out of the Ashes. And I do also agree with you that particularly with the second album, maybe more than the first, the second album, I'd put it up there better than some Pantera albums, as much as I love Nola as well. But, it's the fact that Down, grew out of that, Superjoint Ritual, Superjoint as they are now, and I quite like what Superjoint have done in the last couple of years compared to what they did earlier on, as much as anything like that. We had Damage Plan for a short while, which was quite a good band. Rex Brown has done his own stuff as well and turned out all right. So out of the ashes, we got plenty of quality stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with you that the band wouldn't have lasted probably not even another 4 or 5 years, even if they were friends, because the reason Pantera for me were so aggressive, so chaotic, and so easy to latch onto was because they were a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
You know, they were drunkards, they were young, they were crazy. You know, that shit changes with age, man. And a chilled out Pantera it don't work, does it?
Yeah. Imagine Phil
like,
trying to do Pantera sober.
yeah, we start getting like the odd ballad on there. You know, it'd just be Phil sitting at a piano or some shit like that.
Oh,
it's just
wow.
like, it don't work, does it? You're like, nah. And it, you know, it's horrid and all that, man. But obviously the way everything ended, like, you never want to see that for your bands. But in a weird way, deaths aside, the fact that they came out so chaotic and ended so chaotic is almost exactly what Pantera should have been.
Yeah, literally,
you know?
It's inferno that like someone threw fuel on, it's gone boof, but that will inevitably burn out.
It's 10 years of just insanity, and then they're gone like it never happened, and it's just like, what the fuck? Change the face of metal forever.
I've forgotten, I'll mention this now, but before you do last one, I completely forgot until I was looking at it today that this year was the 30-year anniversary of Cowboys from Hell.
30? Wow.
Yeah, 1990, July 1990. And I was a bit like, holy shit. And no one really mentioned it.
Yeah, it just kind of went by, didn't it?
Yeah, and I was a bit like, oh, that's a bit sad in a way. And it did make me think, oh, Pantera being forgotten. I think it's just 2020 as a whole. But it was like 30 years since Cowboys from Hell. Holy fucking shit.
Imagine that 30-year anniversary tour. Played the album in full.
So old men.
Then Phil coming out 30 years later trying to do the ending of Cemetery Gates.
Oh, don't. Go on, what's your last one?
Well, this is going to be a disappointing ending, but genuinely gurning. Phil Anselmo made face pulling, like basically pulling a face like one of those sports publications captured picture of a footballer jumping for a header looked cool.
Yeah, okay, I'll give that. I can see the pictures.
I know that's like, genuinely, yeah, because obviously it was all about the
yes,
you know, that sort of stuff. It. I swear to God, like, again, being young, friends and all that, we all used to do that face. We all fucking did that back in the day. We all did the Phil Anselmo gurn. There you go. Gurning for the win.
There you go. On that gurning note, there is our 10 things we love about Pantera. Of course, we'll have 10 things we hate about Pantera. Make sure you check it out and let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?